I went out into a field. I told my ex-husband, I was like, hey, I'm going to go for a hike. Dude, it was raining and lightning. I went outside with my pistol. I didn't tell him I was taking the pistol. He and my 3-year-old were sitting inside. My older kids were at their dad's. I went outside and I was like, I can't do it anymore. They say the average person tells at least 3 people, right? That they want to end their life. I did. I told like 3 groups. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And they knew, I think, what I meant, but they were just like, oh, it's going to get better. If they had told me it would take 8 years to be sitting in this chair talking to you, I would have probably ended up doing it. Like, it was such a long struggle. What is my life even worth if I'm here? All these seeds of doubt and lies that the devil wants me to believe about my worth. And I ended up standing there and just sobbing and crying and praying and just like, are you even real? Talking to God, just hateful. And I shot a tree with that bullet I intended for my head. And it was the loudest, most stunning sound I've ever heard in my life because it was like a pivotal moment. And it changed everything. I don't know what you're doing in my life. I believe in you. Everything that I know from the Bible tells me that you are not an evil God. You don't hate me. You love me. If there were no evil in the world, then there would be no reason for Jesus.
That chaos and order is necessary.
Yes. So these things are existing in the same space, and it's unfortunate and it's tragic, and bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
How can there be a God that allows cancer, that allows all these horrific things we could just sit here and name? It's like, man, he allows that because we have free will to choose him.
Yeah.
Like, he can't force us into that. It wouldn't be an authentic approach to the throne. I was like, trying to pray, and I was cussing. I was like, I hate you, like, F you. I had a pastor I told that to, and he's like, man, keep doing that. I was like,
yeah, go for it.
And he's like, God sees past your anger. He sees your hurt.
Yeah.
Just keep talking to him. And I did. I kept talking to him.
Yeah, because it was real. It was an authentic conversation.
Raw. Long story short, I was like, all right, God, I'm going to get out of your way. I'm going to let you make me the person that you made me all along. I've talked before. There's not a there. You don't get there.
Yeah.
We're constantly evolving.
Evolution of yourself is a lifetime pursuit.
Yeah.
That's the relentless pursuit. It's constant. You ready to roll?
I'm ready.
What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit Podcast. What we do on this podcast is bring guests from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, to share their journey and everything along the way that led them to where they're at today. This podcast is a reminder of what's real. Unfiltered stories, raw emotion, and the kind of human connection that can't be faked. We're here to make an impact, and that is what we do. So if that is for you, like, subscribe, all those wonderful things. And if that is not for you, I don't know what your problem is, but it's time to jump on board today. Thank you. But without further ado, I would love to introduce today's guest, Miss Tiffany Childers.
The crowd goes wild.
I know, I always do that. Round of applause, just myself, solo. Welcome.
Thank you.
So good to have you.
It's so good to be here.
We've been talking for 45 minutes of recording already, but I got to get the intro in. We can't miss that.
It's authentic connection, man.
Yeah, it's cool as shit. And
yeah.
I'm just extremely grateful for you just coming here ready to roll.
Man, I tell you what, I've been wanting to talk for 8 years.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that I've actually said yes.
It's a big deal. The pressure's on me now.
A lot of pressure.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready for this. A little backstory. I know Tiffany through my wife, but we met at, Home Depot?
We did. And whenever
my
son
section.
asks where I'm going, and he's like, oh, yeah, the guy with the mohawk. I'm like, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I called it a Joe Hawk.
The Joe Hawk? Yes, I've actually called it that several times. So, hell yeah. But, yeah, we met there and, I don't know, had some conversation back and forth. And
got to introduce you to Matt in the Lowe's Garden Center, my husband. And we stood there and it was like, man, you're one of those people, because I'd followed Lydia, of course, for several years. And you're one of those people that you meet and you're like, God, we got to hang out with them. Like, we left meeting and chatting with you guys. And I was like, how soon can we schedule hanging out with them? Because we need those couples friends in town, that surround us and just iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
We could just tell immediately. I was like, you and Matt y'all just hit it off. And of course I love Lydia.
Yeah. We need to make it happen.
Yeah,
We're going to get that in the books. Like today, we're going to get something concrete.
Yeah. We're getting a puppy on Monday. So Oz needs to come, play with the puppy.
She's got a kitten.
Does she get another one?
Yeah. We got another one. The first one did not make it.
I saw that. I was like, oh no.
Yeah. I buried it.
No, that's a tragic thing.
Yeah. It started raining too. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. But anyway, so it's buried. It was so small though. It just wasn't going to make it. But this one's awesome.
Yeah.
Tiffany, we're going to dive into your story.
Let's do it.
And we already have a bit, but there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we take it back, what does life look like for you today?
I feel like all of me is finally awake.
Yeah.
And present and accounted for. The messy, all of it. And it is the most beautiful place I could have ever dreamed of. And I never, ever thought or was raised to think that that's what beauty looks like. Yeah. Authentic, like raw emotion.
Yeah.
Real, like not running from it, just sitting in it.
Yeah.
It's so good, man.
Isn't it?
I've got so many things to be thankful for, despite a lot of tragedy.
Yeah.
And I could not be happier. And it's like a therapist actually told me one time, they're like, you have to give yourself permission to be happy.
Yeah.
And not like circle the drain on purpose. And man, it took me a while, but I'm happy and it's so good. It's so good.
I love it. I love it. You're already getting emotional.
Yes.
But I can feel that.
Yeah.
People ask that's to me what the relentless pursuit is personally, is the relentless pursuit of authenticity.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's like the highest vibration right there. So to operate at that, to pursue that for the rest of my life is an amazing thing, and I feel like you're on track with that.
Yep. And it is okay to not be okay.
Oh yeah.
And so to find power in that, not power not being okay, but power in like, hey man, I like my story sucks. Like it's hard. I did some things I'm not proud of. I've been through things that were traumatic, but like it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And like be authentic. Authentic people are my jam. Those are my people.
Yeah.
I would rather have a real conversation than a fluffy conversation. I don't do small talk very well.
No, I don't either. I can't talk. If it stays surface level, like I'll entertain it for a second, but I'm pretty much like off this way.
Surface level friends are my networking friends, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's their purpose.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. There's some great people that have their own depth with their own friends, but those are my networking people. Those are my Rolodex friends.
You got to dive deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm the same way. So that said, let's go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
Let's go back. You mentioned some stuff about some unaddressed trauma.
Yeah.
And things of that nature. Where are you from? First of all, where do you hail from? Talk about that.
I was born in Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I grew up in Georgia.
Really?
What part? Of my life. So Georgia, then North Carolina. My mom's from, well, you don't want to go there now, but she grew up in Forest Park.
Yeah.
Like Forest Park's rough.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't pull over there for gas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But she grew up in Forest Park, so I got family in like Madonna and stuff, but I lived in Fayetteville, Peachtree City, and Flowery Branch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a lot of family in that area.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was born in Northside Hospital in Atlanta. We moved to Michigan and then we moved to Memphis, and we landed by the time I was 4 in Murfreesboro. I grew up in Murfreesboro.
Oh.
Never thought I'd move back once I moved away, but I moved back. It's a great place to raise kids.
So you're pretty much just from Murfreesboro.
I'm from Murfreesboro.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm a local.
You been there how long?
I
don't know how old you are.
I'm 42.
42? Okay.
Since 1988 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, take us into that. What was your childhood like?
Okay. Yeah. So I guess I'll start by saying when my dad left us and moved out for the final time, I was 14. And nobody, our church friends, our friends, nobody, they all thought we were like the perfect little American family.
Really?
My friends were like, we just thought your parents were like the perfect family. Like everybody loved coming over.
The surface
and being
level.
Social. Yeah. My dad, is very extroverted. My mom's, was very sweet. Like we had so much of the American dream lifestyle. I have pictures of us planting a garden in the back, and we were always outside playing. I've got two brothers. One is 14 months older. One is 14 months younger. So I'm the only girl in the middle, and they're both now 6'5". So like I grew up with wolves. They're the sweetest guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, and all of our neighbors were boys. Bo Davis that owns Donut Country was one of my neighbors.
Really?
Yeah. Kyle Schaffner, his dad and mom, they own Wendy's or two, I think. And like we all just are at backyard kickball and, just like it was just like 12 boys and me.
Yeah.
And then we had a girl move in. We had some girl drama because I operate, I think, more like a boy now that I look back.
Yeah. You're like, who's this girl?
Why are you being like that? Like, I just didn't understand. So, because you scream at each other when you play sports. You're like, you're not out. I'm not out. And you're like, yes, you were. You just scream. And it's
she's like, oh my God.
But I remember the last time I remember playing baby dolls, I was outside. I was like 9 years old. And my dad walks up. He's like, all right, it's your turn to mow. And I remember that's the last time I feel like I played with baby dolls. I was like, I guess I'm that age now.
Yeah.
I mean,
guess this phase is over.
I still did, but it's like a very pivotal moment where I was like, I went from playing baby dolls to like mowing the grass. Okay.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so we had, what I was convinced to believe was like a healthy family lifestyle. Now everybody's family struggles.
Yeah.
I feel like my family, I want to give them credit and say they were doing their best, but some of the stuff my brothers and I look back on, we're like, what the heck? Like when we had kids, we started examining things and we're like, no, there was absence there.
Yeah.
Like, where were they on this? Where were they on that? But my dad would move out. He'd leave and he'd be mad,
And so the public didn't know this.
No. On my brother's 8th birthday, my dad left. You want to talk about traumatic?
Yeah.
He would come back. It was just very unstable. My dad's not in my life since 2012.
Really?
Yeah, we'll come back to that, but it was just very unstable. And my mom was very sweet. I don't want to dive too much into their personal flaws because I feel like that's an injustice to the parts that they did their best on.
Yeah.
But it was very much not the picture that was painted. It was a very manipulated, very messed up version. It's
interesting. It's almost like you see some crazy documentary about this American family.
Dude, yes.
That's all dark. And then it's like the surface level. It's like, oh, it's beautiful. But then, you dive into the story and everybody's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's it. And I've thought that so many times. I'm like, dude, if I sat down and I really recapped it, like not as a victim, but just like this stuff really happened.
Yeah.
It's like an episode of 2020.
Yeah. So what do you want to dive in? What can you dive into? Do you feel comfortable with?
Yeah. So, I guess I was 7 when my dad left on my brother's birthday. He came back. So when I was 10, my dad abused me. And it was, it's something that I'm not going to dive into just for the sake of like, it's a loaded weapon that I, have to carefully,
it's abuse.
It's abuse. Abuse is abuse.
Yeah.
But I remember somebody, recently telling me, oh, your dad was so fun. And he'd take us here and take us there. And I just stopped and I go, my dad abused me when I was 10. And they're like, what? And I was like, I don't tell you that to make you uncomfortable. I tell you that to just stop us right there. Wasn't the picture that you knew, the picture that I knew. So when I was 10, that happened. When I was 12, he baptized me. And you want to talk about like church abuse.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, but I love God. I mean, like, thankfully, I don't associate the bull crap I've been through in my life with that being of God, you know? So when I was 14, he left. He left for good. Not only did he leave, he wasn't already, I don't think, parenting. And I struggle even talking about this because I've never spoken about either of my parents publicly. And I was raised to protect my abuser. I was raised to overlook abuse. I was raised to water it down and make it something it wasn't, to be a good little girl. And then now I'm like, F all that. That is not my job.
Yeah.
My job was to be a little girl and to be protected and to be safe. My job was to be a child.
Yeah.
So,
but you would say that shaped the trajectory of your life for a long time.
Yeah, it did. And I didn't even know how to acknowledge or address that. And so, 14, he left. And then I remember he left, we were all at church and he left early and came back and picked us kids up and told us, hey guys, we're going to go home. I'm moving out. And we came home and he had packed up stuff and he's gone.
So you were all like, oh, this isn't just like,
we were like, for real, he's
coming and going.
Yeah. And being that we weren't a family that talked through our pain, mom was shattered. And it just, I think he just was just so selfish and abusive and narcissistic and just, he wanted everybody to think he was great, that he's just great. He's a salesman. So great salesman. But like, just so like, maybe he's got unaddressed childhood trauma. Do better.
It's, I did ayahuasca back in 2021. And like, I remember this guy at the end of the night, I was talking to him. He was like, show your shadows compassion.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's always stuck with me because I've had to reflect on this in my life where I had to look back and, it doesn't make what these people done right.
Yeah.
But certain things just aren't justified.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like by showing them compassion, you're able to be a little bit more understanding and be better for yourself. Right. Like, damn, what did they go through? Yeah. It's always interesting to pinpoint. Anyways, that was something I always reflect on. So you saying that, triggered that.
And somebody told me something similar to that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember having that conversation and talking through it. And I'm like, but I've been through some things. And while that played out in the trajectory of my kids' path.
Yeah.
Right. Like divorce, that's part of it. Right. It doesn't, just because I went through something does not excuse the poor choices that I've made.
Yeah.
And a child's safety, I don't care what you've been through, how to show up better for them.
Yes.
Right. So I don't give that too much thought. I need a lot more healing there. I'm still diving in. I just started a new therapist. I love therapy. Everyone needs therapy.
I am going to pitch. Have you heard of Evox therapy?
I do what?
Evox?
No. What is that?
I'm going to dive. This is real quick.
Yeah.
So when I was 8, I was molested by our neighbor.
Yeah.
And long story short, I carried that with me my whole life. I left that house. I didn't talk about it. One of the brothers bullied me. And so I just was like, I don't know, maybe it was a threat to keep me shut up. And then we moved not long after that. And I was bullied when I moved. So I was just like, I just carried it with me. And I was like, this is part of who I am. I went through that. That's okay. I mean, it's not okay that I was done, but I'm fine. Like I am who I am. Yeah. I didn't realize until like I moved to this space and I was going through a lot of shit. And I was so stuck on like betrayal from past friends and, all this stuff. I was just like so angry. I'm like, why am I so fucking mad? Like I can't get work done because I'm thinking about how much I want to like punch somebody in the face for days straight.
Yeah.
And my friend Hannah has a place here in Brentwood called Intentional Wellness. She does this thing where it uses like voice mapping to recognize like distress signals in your voice. And, you kind of have your hand on this little mouse thing and she plays frequencies.
It's like EMDR.
Yes. Very similar. Yes. Yeah. And like, she got me to a point to where, we were focused on this stuff and she was like, all right, now go back to that house and you see yourself walking out. And she said, you see 8-year-old Joe walking out of that house. She said, now sit next to him. Ugh. And she said, now show him his beautiful wife and his daughter, Yeah. And I was just like, holy crap, I just lost it. Yeah. And, cause I'm like, got these glasses on and she's just talking me through this and I just like freaking lost that shit. And all I could think was just telling him it's going to be okay.
Dude, yes.
And now I got that opportunity to walk him back through life. And it was such a powerful, I'll forever give her so much credit for like, because she guided it how she did as well. And so, and then since then I've realized, I've been able to take a lot of ownership on shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I've been able to relinquish that anger because that doesn't do any good. That's the 8-year-old boy that, felt betrayed. It felt like rejected and all these different things. That's his anger,
Yeah.
you know, but like I'm walking him back through now. Like he's
That's
good,
beautiful.
you know? And so
Yeah.
that said, like, if you want me to get you connected with
Yeah.
her, like it's some powerful shit.
Yeah.
So
I'd absolutely love her information.
Yeah.
I just started with this lady that does EMDR.
oh, okay. Good.
And it is the right season for me
Mm-hmm.
to be able to dive deeper, because I've been diving deep. At first, when, 2017, I was in distraught. Like I was not okay.
Yeah.
And I started diving, but like depth was new to me. I didn't have any friends that we had depth. My best friend that I had my whole life, she knew things about me. But there's a lot of things that we didn't just talk about based on conversations that I have with my girlfriends now that are just so intrusive and awesome.
Yeah.
They're just so raw and real and beautiful and authentic. But like going to depth, not only did I dive to the bottom of the deep end, I sat there.
Yeah.
Breathing and alive. I sat there and I was alone.
That's good.
And it was brutal.
Yeah.
And necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had to realize, like, okay, you can't stay at the bottom. You have to work your way back up.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of bobbing up for air. It was a lot of, messy parts. But the place that I'm in now, like the safe masculine energy that my husband is, allows me. And I didn't see this coming because I had done so much healing and so much work. It allows me this feminine energy that I've never been able to rest in.
Yeah.
And because I've always been like, I'm an alpha female. No, false. You are a traumatized little girl who has learned to become a warrior. And you are a warrior. And I am strong, very strong. By the grace of God, I am strong. But his presence and his energy allows me a space that I didn't see coming. So there's new depths of me that I'm wanting to go to. And like, he's there. And I don't know that he necessarily at first knew exactly how to show up, because I think that's like fairy tale, like my prince on a white horse, that my knight in shining armor.
With a sword.
Yeah, he's just gonna slay the dragon. I was already slaying the dragon.
Yeah.
That he came in and provided me so much safe masculine energy and emotional support. And we at first, I think, battled a lot of that energy transfer, like, because we're both very strong, we're both very similar, but we're in this place now that's just like, I'm his sweet baby. He calls me sweet baby. I feel like a safe little girl with my husband.
Yeah.
That's the first man I've ever felt safe with. Yeah. You think about that. I have to also not transfer all responsibility onto him to be everything I need, right? Because like if I take that posture of humility away from God and like coming to him for what I need, and just like, my husband is everything I need, that's too much pressure for a human. Yeah. That's way too much pressure for another person. While I do love and appreciate his energy and he is my gift, I also can't look to him to complete me. Yeah. So now I'm diving into deeper things and becoming an even more authentic version of myself. And you got Lydia.
Oh my God.
And when I see you guys together, and I know Lydia, I've known Lydia for a few years before I met you. When I see you guys together, I am so encouraged for her and for you. Yeah. Not just her. Yeah. Dude, you landed the jackpot of wives.
Oh, I know.
She's incredible.
Without a doubt. And
she's beautiful. And she's kind. Like, she has a pretty heart.
She does.
And I think that's, the virtuous woman in the Bible. Is, Proverbs 31:10 says, a wife of noble character who can find? She's worth far more than rubies. And you think about rubies, man, it's like a valuable stone back then. So for scripture to tell you, like, she's worth far more than that. And it goes on to describe how she's basically like a servant's heart. Yeah. She's kind. She's intentional.
She embodies all that.
She does. That's Lydia. And
to a T.
I love that about her. And no matter what she's been through, she did not allow it to change her in a negative way.
No, she got better.
She got better.
Yeah. Trust me, when she came into my life, she was just like this light.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. I've said it on here, Lord knows how many times, but like when I met her, I was like, I'm going to be the best I can.
Yeah.
Like, it was just that I was so sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty crazy when one person can inspire you in such a way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what she's done for me. And
Yeah.
I told her this, I was like, you know, I told her when we record our episode, I was like, you know, I can give credit to all kinds of people. And there's been amazing people in my life that have influenced me and inspired me and been extremely positive pieces. But she was that starting point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I owe her tremendously. Yeah. So I'm going to be continuing to pay that debt off for the rest of my life, whatever that may look like, but I'm always going to do my best.
Her light and her love and her safety. Yeah. Because that woman gives you safety.
Yeah.
That is from a higher power. That is who she is because of who she loves. And I see that in her. And I feel like, you know, the way that I just don't feel like God could show you more how much he loves you than in your wife and your child's face.
Oh,
and in their love and in their presence and in their light and in their home, in your home. And I'm so encouraged for both of you that you found each other.
Yeah.
Like it's true. Like I think about even my husband, Matt. Oh, it'll make me start crying. Like I've been through some things and my self-belief of like, what do I deserve? This is who I am. That's not who I am. That's not who you were.
Yeah.
We've done some things in our life that we're not proud of.
Yeah. I put people through things too.
Yeah.
You know? I'm guilty of it too.
Right. I've made some choices that hurt people. It came from a place of unaddressed childhood trauma. I'm not excusing it, but like I'm understanding it. And it's like, man, if I'd had therapy in high school, I would be a different person. I struggle with organized religion. I struggle with organized religion because that is when man inserts himself. I've sat through elders meetings and heard the leadership talking, and I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But it's man's, I think, best version, and it's sometimes very corrupted. There are church leaders that I know that have abused children, that have abused all kinds of people, whether it be through manipulation, whether it be through sexual abuse, whether it be through molesting a child, whether it be through assaulting their wife. Like there's brokenness everywhere. Yeah. No one that even leads a church is free from that. What I struggle with organized religion is we have got to, I think, experience, and Pastor Corey does a great job with this. We've got to create a place where people can be broken, because no one's going to come to church if they feel like they're unwelcome, because the people making them feel unwelcome gives them this deep understanding that God also feels that way, because if these are Christians and I'm not welcome, then he must not love me. Yeah. Those thoughts and like core beliefs and lies, right?
Yeah.
But the whole thing about like organized religion is like, we're going there to learn more. That's what I like about the experience. It's like I go there and I learn so much more from reading. He doesn't just talk and have a great personality. He does, but he shares like scripture. Yeah. He shares truths.
I've been with Lydia a couple times, like bigger, like Easter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the Easter and Christmas visitor.
Yeah. You can spot me.
Yeah.
There's the outsider over there. I'm like, my skin starts burning. I'm just kidding.
Dude, the first time I went there, it was my first time back to church in a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I walked in reluctantly. I did not want to go. Yeah. I sat in the car. I was like, I don't want to go in there. Forget it. Like maybe I should just go. Those seeds of doubt, like God doesn't love me. Like, or maybe he does, but these people suck. Like I didn't even meet these people. It's just this automatic, just anger, frustration, and projection of all that pain and associating it with church. Yeah. And I walked in and I was, standing there and I couldn't sing. I love singing in church. I love some good, authentic worship music.
You know Kyle?
Wait, is he the leader?
Worship leader?
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, I had him on.
I don't know him.
I had him
on. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude.
That was a really good episode.
They're a great worship team.
Yeah.
But I struggled with that. So I sat down and I was kind of just pissy. I was just like, I don't want to be here. Fine. And I always wanted my kids to go. But it's just like, I was stopping them. Like, I was keeping my kids, like, let the little children come to me. I was like, none of us are coming to you. Like, y'all can stay to yourselves.
Yeah.
Because I was just so hurt and burned by the church itself, right? And the people. So I sit there and I'm like, what's that smell? Somebody stinks, man. I turn around, there's a homeless guy sitting behind me, reeking of alcohol and stink. And I was like, I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because his external smell was my internal smell.
Mm-hmm.
And I smelled like hot dog water, man. I was stinking. I smelled awful. Like, my life was a mess.
He covered it up for you.
Oh yeah. People couldn't see me because they were looking at him. I'm like, okay, cool. No, but I was like, man, if God says come as you are, and man, they rolled in probably drunk, and this is the place they knew they needed to go because they felt safe. Like, that's where I need to be. So I kept going. I kept trying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's uncomfortable when you feel broken and excluded and rejected and burned. It's different kind of energy when you feel that, because the lie that you believe is that everyone has a stone and they're ready to throw it at you.
Yeah.
They're going to stone you because you are a sinner.
Yeah.
And, you know, in that story in the Bible, Jesus says, those of you that have not sinned, cast the first stone.
Is that in Deuteronomy?
I don't know.
Okay.
I should know. I don't know. And that's one of those lies that I believed. And I sat with a lady at Starbucks years ago. Somebody was like, hey, you should talk to this lady. Like, you know, this is probably 2012. I was struggling, you know, unaddressed childhood trauma. I struggled in my adulthood. Yeah. So I was struggling, and I told this friend, they're like, you need to meet this lady. I don't know her name. I don't have her phone number, but I sat with this lady at Starbucks for like 3 hours, the one over there on Old Fort. And she was like, tell me your story. So I start telling her. I'm like, hey, you know, my dad abused me when I was a kid. He left when I was 14. He baptized me when I was 12. Like, it's just very effed up. And then, like, just life just rolled out of control. I should have had therapy. I didn't have that. No one saw that I was struggling and in pain and said, like, hey, let's get you to therapy. Let's intervene here. Let's help. Let's support you, because you're not okay. And it's okay to not be okay, but you need some intervention. Yeah. So it's just like my life, just snowball effect. And she's like, okay, I'm going to tell you the lies that you're believing. And I just thought she was there to talk. I was like, this is my story, and here's my Starbucks, and I'm cute. Like, no, this woman came with a purpose, and I'm so grateful she did. And I said, I just feel like I'm, you know, like I'm a sinner, and all these people around me are judging me. And my truth is that I'm unwelcome. Mm. And like, everybody's got a stone. And I'm like, you know, she's like, well, you know, she had me invite Jesus into that space. So my eyes are closed, and I'm like snotty crying, like just messy. And it was very needed and beautiful. I didn't feel that way at the time.
The barista's just like,
yeah, they're like, what's happening over there?
Making coffee. Like, what?
Yeah, the people next to us are like, we should probably move.
Let's go over there.
Yeah. So she said, I want you to invite him in. And so I'm like, I'm in this crowd, and everybody's yelling at me, and they have stones, and it's just messy and just awful. I feel awful. I feel insignificant. I feel all these things, and they're big feelings. Each of them hold their own weight, and all of them were sitting on top of me. And I was like, where can I go? You know, what can I do? Nothing. There's nothing I could do. These people really feel that way, because my life is really a mess. Yeah. And he comes in, and she's like, I walk through this, and he wraps his arms around me. But when he does, like, his Jesus clothes, like, become this cloak, and it just surrounds me. And I am just sobbing at Starbucks quietly, because I'm trying to, like, fight it, but you can't fight that kind of pain. And so she walks me through giving myself permission to look around. And when I looked around right there with Jesus and my eyes closed, I look around, and everybody's minding their own business. Yeah. Nobody has a stone. They're all on the ground. And that's my truth. My truth is that there are people that may have stones. Those are not my people.
No.
Those are not my people. And I was a people pleaser, and wanting everyone to accept me, all this trauma that I needed to sort out and these lies. I wanted all those people to be like, why don't you like me? Why don't you accept me? Am I not enough? Am I too much? Really? Like, they all dropped their stones because they all had their own shit. Yeah. They all had their own stuff that they were like struggling with, or they have their job. They have their kids. The people that had stones are the people I don't want to be around. Yeah. Those are not my people. Those people don't want good for me. And I was wanting those people to accept me and love me because of my own broken places. And it's like, man, that freed me a lot, but it was just like the beginning of the depth.
Yeah.
Because that was 2012 and I didn't dive to the bottom of the pool till 2017. And when I got there, I had no one because I had built a shallow army.
Yeah. And you were talking about how right now you're in a season of like letting certain things go or kind of healing through it, right?
Yeah.
And I find it interesting too, because seasonally, we're at that place. You know, last night was a harvest moon, right? So we're going into fall. And I always look at life as just like the seasons. Fall's the perfect time symbolically to kill off the things that don't belong.
Yeah.
You know, shed yourself of what's holding you back, you know, any of that dead weight, because right around the corner, spring, that's when things start to blossom and whatnot, right? Yeah. So I kind of try to visualize that within myself as we go through life.
Yeah.
So,
maybe
you know, you're in that season of the harvest.
After my dad left when I was 14, we were very involved with youth group. I think that's what kept me from like falling off the map. We were so involved with youth group.
Yeah.
And our youth minister became a close friend. We had a couple, one was somebody's dad for a while, then we had one step in, and we were at church all the time. And my brothers and I are all very social and very much the coordinators and like, hey, come to church with us. We had a huge youth group for this tiny church.
Yeah.
And it was some of the funnest days of my life to date. Like just the coolest teenage experiences in that season.
Yeah.
Despite a lot of tragedy with dad leaving, that was hard. That was really brutal. And just so much goes on in, you know, I've had to learn to think about God as my heavenly father. He is, but I've had to put all of the weight of what I didn't have and think about my worth and like what I deserve based on the Bible, which is so incredibly hard. It's like reading something that is like reading a book and like, I'm going to read this book and then I'm going to know what my worth is. It's so challenging. You have to have people in your life really so there's people that taught me that came in and like, I had a great experience.
Yeah.
And then I dated this guy in high school for like 3 years and I was going to marry him. Like I loved him. I put a lot of, my, hurt and pain into that relationship because when dad left, I was dating him and I went that day to my brothers and all came home from church that day that my dad left and we all just went 3 different directions. And you know, none of us knew how to help our mom through that.
If you don't mind me asking, on that, so your dad had abused you prior to that.
Yeah.
You know, but you said it was hard that he left.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, you know, knowing what he put you through.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you weren't like, well, good riddance. Like,
well,
you know,
that came later.
But at the time,
because when he left, I had not even addressed, and I will say it was minor abuse. However, abuse is abuse.
Oh yeah.
Write a book on that. Like abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter, you know, how severe it was. You were abused. Your safety was violated.
Yeah.
By somebody you should trust. And so I didn't really address that till I think I was pregnant with my daughter.
Okay.
People had asked me, I think I was like knowing what I know now and reading people like I read people now, I think I could have looked at somebody and been like, I identify that something's going on with her.
Yeah.
So I now can use that as a superpower to see people like, hey, you know, how are you? Like, let's talk on what's going on. It's helped me to lead a lot of other people to therapy as well, because I'm not their healer, but I can lead them to their healer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so dad left and that was not even on my radar. And so I didn't even know what to call that. And so dad left, but it was like, our family unit, the stability that we knew, dad was the breadwinner. My mom stayed home a lot of our lives.
It just kind of fell apart,
exploded. And when it exploded, we were all of a sudden like kids of divorce. And like, it wasn't as common back then.
Yeah.
So that we were all taught, you know, that there's an end, there could be an end, like nothing's permanent. So that started, I think, my abandonment and also anxious attachment things that I needed to address in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so high school was fun. I had my high school boyfriend, just very codependent, you know. I loved being with his family because they were a family. They were healthy, you know. It was like a drug. Being around them was like a drug. And if my brother and I recently, he brought something up and he's like, you were so nasty when I wouldn't take you over there. And I'm like, well, yeah, man, I was like a drug.
Yeah.
Like I would do anything to feel better.
Yeah.
And being around them made me feel better. And it doesn't excuse that. Like I did some horrible things. And I treated him like crap, and he was going through stuff too,
Yeah,
But-
so you totally disregard that when you're going through it.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I'm surviving.
Yeah.
I survived most of my life.
Yeah.
Survived. And I don't mean like I was homeless. And I always try to compare it to that because there's people that have it so much worse. But your worst is your worst.
When did you start to live in that survival mode, you think? When did you realize you were in survival mode?
I think I started survival mode the moment I was abused. I don't think I realized it. No, I know I didn't realize it. But I think that projected my life towards surviving. And because there's other things that I break down, like just wanting, I don't know, it just would take a second for me to actually unlock that door and open it. But just different things that you can associate with childhood trauma. I was doing those things.
Yeah.
And like I have ADHD, and 30 years ago, that was not right. We have great personalities. We are great podcast hosts because of that.
Yeah, right.
we have notes that we sometimes follow, but like it was a shameful thing because I almost failed every grade of every year till I graduated high school. And then my sophomore year, I was like, F this, I'm out of here. So I was like, I heard somebody was like, I'm graduating a year early. And I was like, tell me more.
How do I do this?
How do I do that? So my sophomore year, I went to summer school all summer. I took, this is when I didn't realize how determined I was and how driven I was. I took summer school, and then my senior year I started and I took an hour early class. So I was there from 7, and instead of leaving an hour early, I stayed 7 through the full day. And then the spring semester we tacked on, I think it was like 2 days of night school. So I was like 7 a.m. to 3 instead of 8 to 3. And then night school, like 6 to 8, 2 or 3 nights a week. I can't remember. I was like hustling.
Yeah.
Like I'm out of here. I was going to, get out and marry my high school sweetheart and escape this life. Like, here's your one chance, fancy. Don't let me down. But, and like life altered, and I graduated a year early. C's good degrees. Okay.
Hey, I feel you there. That was me.
My husband's really smart. He's like, don't say that. I'm like, we were with all these smart kids on the weekend. They were helping me with my gala, and they were all talking about their how smart they are and their scores. And I was like, hey, C's good degrees. And they all started laughing. But it also, it is what it is. But anyway, so where was I going?
I got my perspective on classrooms and traditional school, but we're not going to get into that. But
yes. Oh my gosh, we are not meant to be sitting in chairs all day.
No, we're not.
No, and we need to seriously break that down. I have a kid who gets in trouble for talking too much and joking. And I'm like, dude, he gets it from his mama. He's got a great personality. Everybody loves him. But we're not meant to sit. We're meant to hunt and gather and be active and
get him in nature.
Yes.
That's the most stimulating thing. It's so spiritual too, because when you're in nature enough, you realize that is God.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? And so like, that's why I'm working so hard, because I want Lydia to be able to homeschool Ozzy. Oh, yeah. That's our goal, right? Yeah. So it's just one of those things, I think.
Yeah.
We're not all meant to sit in the same classrooms in the box. That works for some people. Yeah. For me, again, C's good degrees. Like I barely got out of there.
But you did.
I did get out. Thank God.
Well, I did tech path my senior year because I knew I didn't want to go to college. I was going to go to like hair school. Yeah. I'm a beauty school dropout. But so I didn't have to do like the big, I didn't have to write, I don't know, the big test at the end. I don't even know what it's called because I didn't take it.
We did the SAT in North Carolina.
Didn't do that. ACT. Didn't do that. I don't know. But anyway, so graduated high school. My high school relationship fell apart. I was just very unhealthy. I was a broken little girl that really needed some therapy.
I do want to ask. Yeah. Looking back on that time. Yeah. On your childhood, what do you think the one thing is that little Tiffany needed most?
Oh, dude. I almost put a picture on my phone to look at while we talked today.
Oh,
because
really?
I became the person that little Tiffany needed. I became that.
You needed you.
I needed me now. Yeah. Little Tiffany, and I thought about that and cried on the way here. So it's funny that you bring that up. Little Tiffany needed somebody to see her and to show up. To intervene, to set up counseling, to get my parents in therapy. And I think they even were in therapy, but to change my safety. Because when you take a child's safety and they go into survival mode, let's just say it's a 5-minute moment, right? That child now knows something they didn't know before. And the projection of that child from there forward without intervention is destruction.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, but there needs to be, everyone who has something that is unaddressed, I hope they heal. Yeah. I hope they find the strength to say, I'm not okay, to somebody. Even if you secretly find counseling and secretly go and tell somebody what happened to you. Tell them. Don't focus on what happened after that. Tell them what happened to you. Mm-hmm. Tell them with every word that you can think of how that felt, what exactly happened, and then like sit there with them for a second. Interview therapist first. I could always recommend some to people, but interview them and then dive in. Yeah. Because unaddressed childhood trauma is the heaviest weight one carries for the rest of their life. I think the average age of men that actually find the courage to speak up, I want to say is like 37. Before a guy usually speaks up, it's the average age of 37.
I mean, yeah, I'm 35. Yeah. So
how old were you when you spoke up?
I mean, I've shared it with people like I'm close to, but for me to tell my, I wrote a whole week series about that, and put it all online. Yeah. But like I didn't tell my parents till about a couple weeks before that.
Yeah.
I was at the park.
Hey, heads up.
With my mom. We're watching my daughter, and I brought it up, and she was just like,
yeah.
And my parents. But I obviously wanted to show them the respect before I put it all over social media. But that was, to me, like it was really authentic to put that out there, right?
Yeah.
People connect with that shit. People have been through it,
Yeah.
And so, 35 years old, you know, talking about that.
Dude, 1 in 3 girls, I think it's 1 in 6 boys.
Yeah.
So if 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys grows up to have children, think about that. Like we don't look at people the same after that.
Yeah.
You don't look at people, and you never have. I never have. I never look at anyone and feel, from that moment forward, I never felt safe. Never.
I'll tell you what, we've talked about it, like Ozzy will not do sleepovers at any friend's house.
Don't.
Maybe with like my parents or like our sisters, because they got the kids and whatnot, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Nope, you can hang out, and this is why.
Yeah.
You
can be mad at me.
I lived that experience.
Yeah.
And, that's just, we draw the line on that.
I took what I experienced, and I became a mother, and I became a very protective mama bear.
Yeah.
I made all the right choices. We did not have any of those scenarios that would lead to that.
Yeah.
When we had babysitters, I vetted them. When we had anything, I vetted them. So I had a great youth group growing up. And then I told you we had a youth minister step in.
Yeah.
I'm going to respectfully talk about my story. I'm going to be vague about some things out of respect for my kids. Okay. So my youth minister, when my dad left, I was 14, a freshman in high school, tender age, so much pressure, so much insecurities of any high school girl, regardless. But we already had a lack of stability in the house because dad would leave and come back and all these things. When my stepdad came into our lives, he was already there. He was my youth minister. He was 8 years older than me. And my mom was close to 40, I guess. And he was like 23. And people were like, they're dating. I'm like, no, they're not. Because he'd hang out with us all the time. We'd have youth group in my house all the time. They're like, no, they're dating. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. And then I realized they were. And then we talked about it. My mom was like, do you want us to break up? And we were like, yeah, this is weird.
Yeah.
Please. And
he's like a teenager almost.
Yeah, dude. She was in bed for like 2 weeks. My mom's very codependent. I learned that, my mom is a very sweet demeanored person. She is, man. She was very loving in a lot of ways growing up.
Yeah.
And so they broke up. Well, they eventually started dating. We blessed it, if you will. I don't remember the scenario. We loved him as a friend, and it was hard. It was very awkward that this young guy was at our house and but he was always very kind to us.
Yeah.
Eventually he became somebody that I greatly respected. My kids called him Papa. There's a 17-year age gap. And Papa was very close. He taught me how to make coffee, how to change a tire. He stepped in. So he came into my life and eventually dated my mom with the 17-year age gap that we all adjusted to. He's somebody that I greatly admired. We were all very close. We had a lot of fun at Christmas, quarterly visits to my mom's house. We had a great family group.
Yeah.
And he didn't replace Dad, but he became somebody that was just so important to us. And a really strong spiritual leader in a way.
Yeah.
And then his parents came in and his dad was a strong spiritual leader, and just, there's so much love there. And so, we fast forward, my life was still imploding, no therapy really, to address my life. And, there was a season where I had moved in with my two children, my oldest children who are college age. I moved in with my mom and my stepdad. I was in EMT school and I was a personal trainer. And just trying to get on my feet, still very broken and lost and just unhealed. And
you were how old at this time?
It's 2011.
Okay.
So, late 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. I had just gotten out of a crappy abusive relationship, another mess I made for myself. We were there and I was, scrambling to find, a babysitter. I ended up asking my stepdad, I felt bad. I'm like, gosh, I don't want to put my kids off on people, but I really need help, with personal training and with EMT school. And I think it was class. I had 2 days a week and then Saturday, if I remember correctly. So my stepdad, who I loved, who was one of the safest people I knew, babysat for me some. And I did not realize that he had an abusive side to him. He abused one of my kids. And I was manipulated. He told me enough. He pulled me aside one day and told me enough so that if that child ever brought it to me, I would be confused. So when that child brought it to me, I was confused. And that child brought it to me several times over the next several years. And every time I was like, I spoke to what I knew, the manipulated version of what happened. And so, fast forward, we're in still a close family. We still hung out with them. Everybody seemed okay, but this kid was struggling.
That's intense,
dude.
So he just fabricated a story,
dude. Yes,
to throw you off.
Yes.
Wow.
Did not say I'm sorry. Lied to me to throw me off the trail. And I didn't think twice. I apologized. I was like, I'm so sorry. I just cannot wrap my head around how a person can have that much evil in them, because this is spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
To hurt a child, who does that? Demons do that. And to destroy a child's safety in their childhood, to take a person in their childhood and to take their safety.
Yeah.
Willingly, knowingly, several times.
To strip their innocence.
Dude, to take everything that they knew was good and pure and holy.
Mm-hmm.
And so this happened several times. And I didn't know that at the time. So when it got brought up, I essentially created this narrative that was just suppressing this child speaking up for help. And I missed it. And then we were living on a farm in Alabama, and this kid got in trouble for doing something. She got in trouble. I was like, go to your room. Well, it's my daughter. So I go upstairs before bed. It's midnight. It's a summer, June 10th, 2017. I go upstairs. No, it's June 11th, June 11th, 2017. I go upstairs and I'm like, we're going to talk through this before bed. We're going to end on a good note. We're going to have discipline. We're going to whatever. But I looked at her and the Spirit of God gave me something that I cannot explain. I looked at her and I was talking to her and she had brought this thing up and I was always like, you're good. Everything's good. Like, we're going to, we're moving from this thing. This is not a thing, right? Gaslighting her essentially. And I looked at her and I pointed at her with 2 fingers and I was like, something is off and I'm not leaving this room till you tell me what it is because I know that something is off. And she starts crying. She brought it up again. And I said, let me tell you what I know and then you tell me if there's more. And I told her what I knew. And she looked up at me and I said, was there more? And with huge tears in her eyes, she was like, and it was like, there was no moment before that. That was the moment. I saw her. And I said, okay. So I had her tell me what more. And I tried to call people that night. It was after midnight. I tried to call, I think, that my stepdad. And he didn't answer. And I'm like, well, it's late. And I didn't know how to even wrap my head around that. For years, I didn't know what to call my abuse or how to address it. Yeah. But I knew how to address this. But I was like, is that even, like, what is this? What? I trusted this person. Like any type of childhood abuse is oftentimes from the people that are in your close circle.
Yeah.
It's tragic to think about. It makes you want to like live in a freaking bubble.
Yeah.
So, and like every parent's like, if my kid ever gets hurt, I'll kill him. I almost did.
Yeah. Like I'd want to burn them alive.
Oh man. So it wasn't that way at first though. Cause at first I was in denial. I was like, this can't be real. So the next day I called him, I called him and the first call that I made, and I was just like, I went to bed. I was like so confused and I was like, I don't know what this is. I do, but I don't. Like, how? And there's questions. So I slept a little bit and I got up and I called him and I was like, hey, remember that time you told me this thing? And I was like, she is saying that there was more. And I believe you both. I'm very confused. And I trust you both. So I'm very confused. And he said to me, sis, and I quote, sis, I got to be honest with you. I wasn't quite honest back then. I was on the driveway of my farm. I had a really long driveway. When people talk about outer body experiences, I always thought that was so stupid. When I tell you, my soul left my body. And I remember looking at myself on the driveway. It's an experience I cannot explain. And I never talk about. But it's like I was looking at myself going, holy shit. One of the people that you have loved and adored and cherished and respected, a valuable member and leader of your household, hurt your kid. Okay? There was before and there was after, and I have never been the same. But what happened is, in her speaking up, she began her healing journey. And it's been worth every single thing. Every heartache, every conversation, every betrayal, every abandonment that happened around that has been worth it, all of it. Because you could throw me in the fire. You could throw me in the fire. I will go voluntarily. Because to stand between your child and evil, to speak up, to make people hate you for your truth, for her truth, I would do it all over again.
100%.
Absolutely. So I ended up calling the police and I called the local. Then I was like, you know what? Never mind. I'm going to call Murfreesboro. This happened in Murfreesboro. I'm going to make it real easy. Ended up getting assigned to detective, Tommy Roberts, one of my favorite detectives in town. They help all kinds of kids with all kinds of abuse. The Child Advocacy Center does amazing things. The detectives in this town have done some amazing things. There's multiple laws that need to change that fail children.
Yeah.
There was no trial. There was no prosecution. There's no prosecution. There was not even a slap on the wrist because the law was broken. I think that law since has changed. But the problem with this is what happened after. Remember, I had built a shallow army. I didn't have depth with people, and I survived that way.
Yeah.
I didn't talk about the raw, real things. And honestly, the people that I was with didn't either. Some of them did, but it was specific to their situation, like adultery in their marriage or, specific. But like when you talk about, well, my parents this and this and this and this and this, just like, let's just roll out the set of knives.
People
right?
get really uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable and can stay in it and hear you. Not everyone, but a lot of people.
Yeah.
Getting uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. I've heard you guys talk about that on your podcast before. Authentic people are uncomfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yes.
And if they're not comfortable with it, they're doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it started this path, hers towards healing. But in that moment, I'd have to look at a calendar to tell you the dates, but this was, let's say it was a Sunday. By Wednesday, and the same day I called my brothers. My brothers are amazing men. They could have turned out like anything. They have amazing father-in-law examples. They are good men. Yeah. They are good family men. They are faithful husbands. They are amazing fathers. They're fun. We all processed our childhood differently. We all had our own healing path, and it all looks very different. It's taken me a long time to understand that. My brothers are like no man's land. The things we struggle with, I don't talk about out loud because I have so much empathy and compassion for them.
Yeah.
They're good guys. But I called them, and I told them what happened. They were like, what? And instead of telling their wives, they asked me to, so I did. And we were all very close at that season of our life. I think I was closer to them at that stage because I was less vulnerable and raw. And when I got vulnerable and raw, I got messy.
Yeah.
Which is the way that I got there. I called them. And so we became what I described to my daughter. I said, we are in a circle around you and we are all facing outward and we all have swords and we all have shields and ain't nobody getting to you. Nobody. She quit going to her dad's. She stayed with me. She drew me this picture one time and it was like a 3-headed dragon. And we're at a school and we're hunkered down by around a corner from the lockers. And I've got a shield and she's behind me. There's a 3-headed dragon. And I became the person that little Tiffany needed for her. And it was messy because I had no idea what that looked like. And there was so much emotion and raw anger and hurt and betrayal and all these stages of grief. Because while her experience was needing to heal from abuse, my experience then became everyone abandoned us.
Yeah.
The ones that stayed, I somewhat ran them off because my lie, I was too much. I was too messy. I was too angry. But you tell me, all you people that watch this, I hope they watch this. You tell me how to package that pretty.
Yeah.
I don't owe you that. I get to be exactly where I am, exactly how I am. And if you need to excuse yourself, bless you. Because the people that are going to come in are going to have swords and shields.
Yeah.
Essentially, a war came to my house and I stood on the front line and I was like, yes, I'm there. No hesitation. I'm there. And it was traumatic. And I should have had an army around me. And I should not have been in the front by myself. There were people that tried to step in, but not everyone can stay there very long. My brother stayed. Dude, my brother stayed. Now, we lived in separate places. So when I say I'm at the front line by myself, I don't mean they weren't there because my brothers honored my kid.
They were there, yeah.
They did. But what happened is her dad is very non-confrontational. I am not.
Yeah.
I am not non-confrontational. I am confrontational.
Yeah.
I have had to learn that there is good and bad to that. If you're going to honor God, you can't just be like, bleh. You can't just be rage.
Yeah.
But there is righteous anger.
100%.
And I had it. But I also had a lot of my childhood come with that. Because when you open that wound, there was already a wound there. So you just bumped into one, essentially. You just knocked into it with your car.
Yeah, so maybe you weren't able to stand there at the front.
No, I was at the front.
You were at the front, but like protecting her, but also dealing with your shit at the same time. So it was almost like reckless, dude, in a way.
Oh, it was overwhelming because I should have addressed that long before. And it allowed me the opportunity to realize one day I would get there, but that wasn't the day.
Yeah.
And I had never even told people that had happened to me, but I started to. So there's this thing that people talk about, generational curses.
Yeah.
Breaking generational dysfunction is what I would like to focus on more, right?
Yeah.
In my life, I want to break generational dysfunction. And I posted this picture recently on Facebook, and it's Spider-Man holding a bus back. And on the bus I wrote, generational dysfunction.
Yeah.
And then on him, I wrote me, or you. I think I put you. And then the kid that's walking in front of the bus with just mindless, your kid.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I had to step into that, and it changed everything. And so while she's dealing with getting the help she needs to start her healing journey, I am not even realizing that what I'm having these conversations with a detective, and her dad was not engaged at all. Now, he's a great guy. I want to pause here and say, like, her dad loves her.
Yeah.
I have to work on forgiving him for those things. And I've told him that recently. He has apologized years later. He's like, hey, I'm sorry I never engaged.
Yeah.
But I still harbor resentment for him for that, because I stood on the front line. I was still married at the time to my 11-year-old's dad. Part of my mess, right?
Yeah.
He also was non-confrontational because I used to surround myself with that. And that safe masculine energy, when I say my husband has taught me something through that, I mean it. I was always the leader. I think that I honestly created that world for myself, the complete control. I think that I created that so that I felt safe, which is such a stupid idea, right?
Yeah.
Such an unhealed idea, rather.
Yeah. But I mean, that's all like a protective mechanism for yourself as well, you know? I mean,
like, how many people before Lydia did you surround yourself with because you're like, this is the healthiest version I know, and it didn't help you grow, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or there would be women that, like, you know, were too, like, alpha chicks that were too, like, they wouldn't let me play the role of a male. Like, you know, just simple things like getting a door. Yeah. Like, I got it, you know, and like, but you know, I couldn't help but sense there was some unresolved stuff.
Oh my gosh. Every single time.
Yeah.
We are not created as women to stand in that presence of energy. We're not created to be alphas. That is not how God created and designed us. Now, there are some really awesome leaders, but we were not created that way.
Yeah.
And you guys were not created to be in the feminine role.
No.
And when those things are not in its proper place, there is unhealed things there. But I believe everybody can discover that and should look into that.
There's no way in hell my wife would ever have to stand at the front lines absent of me. Like, I'm going to be like, listen, no, get behind me. I'm right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how it will be.
Yeah.
You know, and she'd allow that.
Yeah. And I think that's the truth, is her allowing that. And women that don't allow it don't trust it.
Oh, yeah.
And if we don't trust it, a lot of times it's because we sense that there's not a leader there, or both things existing in the same space. There needs to be more healing on ourselves, because I stayed in my alpha because I felt safe there, because I became the version of Tiffany, the unhealed version that showed up for little Tiffany. But that version was a warrior with no vulnerability.
Yeah.
The strongest thing I've ever done is become vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
My husband, man, he sees it all, and he's there. He doesn't need me to coddle him and baby him. He needs me to respect him.
Yeah.
And I do. And when I struggle, you can tell, like, we both struggle. And when he gives me that safety and babies me and allows me to be in that feminine energy, there's such a harmony to it.
Yeah.
So we've grown in that because, some things you have to troubleshoot with a new couple. You have to troubleshoot these things.
And true respect to men is love.
Yes.
Like if you get what I'm saying, I heard a guy say it, and obviously there's a lot of other factors, but I heard this a while back, years ago. He said, what do women want? Love. Men want respect.
Yeah.
But like that is, and there's obviously more layers to what love is to women and stuff like that. But it was just keeping it clear, concise. And I'm like, that's a good point.
Yeah.
We want to feel respected, and that makes us better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like my husband would just run through brick walls if like he's just that guy that's like, she respects me. I'm taller. Like he's such a Viking.
Yeah.
He's such a man's man. I have tried coddling him before, and I don't mean taking care of him as coddling. I mean, like, here's a funny example. This is not the coddling thing. Coddling was like, to me, looked like I was trying to baby his alpha, and that's not what he needed.
Yeah.
He needed to unfold at his speed in a way that he felt comfortable with, which took me a minute to figure out.
Yeah.
My husband has a very tender heart. He has cried with me so many times, and it's just the most beautiful version of him because I see him and he's safe. Yeah. And it's sacred ground, man. I will never talk about those things with anyone ever.
Well, you saying that, it brings me to, I had this thought, and that's another thing with women. You talk about, it can even go back to breaking generational. I always say generational chains, right? Similar to, you said generational what? Dysfunction, yeah. But breaking the dysfunction or the chains or whatever it is, we get so used to seeing like this dated mindset of like, oh, I've got to, bottle it in. And we talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are men like this? Why does masculinity look so bad? Well, it starts with women also giving the men the space to work on their shit. Like, allow the space. That's a simple thing.
Yeah.
And then once that guy has the space to talk, just talk about it. That's when the healing begins. Yeah. And that's when they become the best version of that masculine self,
Dude, he sometimes will say, like, I'm sharing my feelings with you. And I literally am like, are you really? Like, I just, it's so new to him to share his feelings in that regard with safety that I'm like, I have to clean up on aisle 3. I'm like, that's my bad. I say, we're still practicing this. And he'll say, like, I'm not good at it yet. I'm like, well, I mean, I think it's just it's a growing process.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But I mean, I think watching him learn to feel safe and with me and knowing, there's a lot of military guys, I'm sure you can relate to this. The reason that I relate so much to the military community is because I have been through some things. Now, I do not compare them to sitting next to your buddy getting blown up. I think that's a disservice to what my military friends have experienced.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say that I have been through things that it's been hard for me my whole life to surround myself with people that haven't been through hard things. Yeah. I've always felt like the odd duck because I've been through so many things that people didn't know about. And I'm just like, these are first world problems. Like, what are we even doing here?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't give them the compassion they need because that's their worst thing because mine's so much worse. And you have to learn to hold space for people and also learn to be the example of like, hey, be vulnerable and be real and talk about these things because they may not have gone through that, but you know what? In 5 years, you never know what's going to happen in their life, and they're going to remember you saying it's okay to not be okay.
Life can turn on its head like that.
Unfortunately. And I wouldn't wish anybody to go through things like we've been through.
Yeah.
But the reality of the world we live in is people go through things. And if we can speak ahead of it and be like, look, I went through this thing and this is my journey and this is what it looked like and this is how I found freedom.
Yeah.
And a healing journey that actually helped me. I think speaking ahead of things, even if they can't relate, there's so many that are living in silence and suffering. Yeah. There's so many people because I suffered my whole life. Like I never drew attention to it because I didn't know how to. I didn't have the people around me to do so. My family didn't talk about anything at the time. My brothers now, they do, and they're their own groups and way and everything, right? But like even our mom won't talk to us still.
Yeah.
I think one of my brothers is able to have conversations with her, but it's not the same. So essentially, to get back to what we were talking about a second ago, we were talking about, find my body just looking, my soul looking down at my body in this moment. So I ended up, getting the right people on board and going through this process, me with my shield and my sword at the front line and people just dropping off left and right. I would try to call former church members and talk to them because I needed to talk to people, and I was angry. And I was very aggressive because just that it was righteous anger. I'm not excusing the level of hatred and volume of voice or tone, but what I'm saying is that I needed veterans then. That's who my community is now. I needed those kind of people then to be like, yo, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Let's go drive and scream and cuss, and let's go shoot guns, and let's go for a hike and, write something down and then bury it in the mud and walk away from it, or whatever it is.
Let's take action.
Let's have a solution here.
Yeah.
Let's not just sit here. And my friend that stepped in that let me talk in circles, Courtney, she would give me great advice I wasn't ready to receive. That's okay. She's just an amazing human.
Yeah.
She held space for me and didn't judge me and never made me feel like I was too much or not enough.
Yeah.
You cannot place value on that type of friend.
Thanks for watching. To check out part 2 of Tiffany Childers' story, tune in next Sunday, October 19th at 4 p.m. Central Time. This isn't just a podcast. This is my life's work. In a world full of noise, debate, filters, and artificial content, this platform is real. It's raw. It's human. Every episode, we dive deep into stories that matter. Pain, purpose, transformation. We're here to give people a voice, speak truth, and connect through something deeper than algorithms. And we're growing fast. We've already reached over 20 million views across all platforms, with an audience that is loyal, engaged, and passionate about this show because it speaks to the soul. If your business or brand believes in authenticity, if you value marketing through something that reflects your values and aligns with real impact, then this is your opportunity. Sponsorship isn't just support, it's fuel. It's how I keep this mission alive. It's how I continue to shine light on powerful, untold stories that need to be heard. If you want to reach people, not just through metrics, but through their hearts, their minds, and purpose, let's partner. Let's build something that matters.